Today, some explosive radio. Here in New York on WFAN, the hot topic was the Yankee managerial situation and whether George Steinbrenner blew it by not rehiring Buck Showalter. Co-hosts Steve Sommers and Russ Salzberg began their disagreements slowly. I don't think it's Buck Showalter's place to be calling George. I think it's George's place to be calling Buck.
Why?
Because the ball is in George's court.
Why is it in George's court?
He's the owner of the team. But the war of words escalated.
You want to look at Buck as being this wonderful, can't do nothing wrong person. Who passed that rule?
I'm not saying that Buck can do no wrong.
Well, that's what you're saying about
No,
this.
that is not
sure
what
it is. You're saying
Stop yelling at me.
You're saying Buck has to be the liar and the other guy's not.
I want you to talk to me in a calm voice.
Well, but, you do this all the time.
I don't do anything.
Yes, you do.
What you do all the time is yell. Now, you stop it and talk like a man.
Hey, Steve,
you talk like a normal person to me.
Let me tell you.
Well, they work together. And that's what Russ does. Russ screams. He's an inarticulate buffoon. He's a nice guy, but he can barely put a sentence together. And so then we had an hour yesterday afternoon of him screaming at Mike Francesa and Chris Russo, these two other nitwits that do this radio program, this radio station. Well, here's the controversy. George Steinbrenner, who's a convicted felon and a fat Nazi, he and Buck Showalter, the manager, couldn't, for some, who knows, they couldn't reach an agreement on Buck continuing as the manager of the Yankees, so Buck's not now going to be the manager of the Yankees. His contract expired last night. However, now we have the specter of the hitting coach, Rick Down. And Steinbrenner fired Rick Down, the hitting coach, who was a good personal friend of Buck Showalter's. And the speculation, and I forget whose, it's either Francesa's or it's Salzberg or somebody's. The speculation is that the reason Steinbrenner fired the hitting coach is because he knew that Buck wouldn't continue to manage the Yankees without his friend, the hitting coach, being there.
Right.
And there was some discussion about whether Steinbrenner had the right to do that or not. Well, he owns a team. He can do what he wants.
Sure.
He's ruined the New York Yankees. But if he wants to, it's his deal. He's a boorish, gutless, fat pig. Yep. Somebody who, for example, would never, like O.J. Simpson, in spite of Larry King's assertion, would never appear in this program under any circumstances. Mm-hmm. George Steinbrenner is a fat, gutless coward and a convicted felon and the truth, in the true sense of the word, a punk. But at any rate, now, you want to know what? Now, get a tape. Was a tape here available? Have you and Craig go through a tape. Give me a tape.
Sure.
That's unbelievable. Have Craig just put together all Craig put together all the you want to know what so many times he says it. I mean, it's maddening. And they think it's great radio. These three idiots screaming at each other. I don't know what else. Charles Oakley has been suspended 1 game and fined $6,000 for throwing a punch in the next final preseason game. So the Oakman will miss the regular season opener on Friday in Detroit. And that's sports. I mean, you'll be off into a segment of America. It's 8 minutes till the hour, and I am Imus in the morning. Well, there's a little item in the paper about these morons at this radio station all screaming at one another yesterday. Who's the Steinbrenner lackey? Arthur Richmond. Arthur Richmond, just an old Steinbrenner butt boy, as is Bill Madden, who writes for the New York Daily News here in New York. Apparently, now Richmond is saying that if everybody knew the real deal on the hitting coach, Rick Down, who Steinbrenner fired, then it would blow the lid off of everything. So we're wondering, what is that?
Yeah.
What is that rumor?
Mm-hmm.
Is it a bag of boys' underwear in a locker room? Is it racism of some kind?
I don't know.
Some kind of racial remark he made?
Snort and blow with Steve Howard?
Is it a cocaine thing? What is it?
He says it's a very here's another quote from him. He says it's a very confidential matter, and I'm not going to get into this, but it was big.
Well,
sometimes it's not everybody's business, he said.
So that's a gutless old fool for even floating the rumor without clarifying exactly what it is.
Accusation without evidence.
Well, here's how this conversation was between Russ Salzberg and Mike Francesa and Chris Russo was described yesterday. That occurred yesterday, described in this morning's New York Newsday. It was 30 minutes of Russ screaming, "Hold on a second, whoa, whoa, whoa." And, what's the other phrase he uses?
You want to know what?
You want to know what? Which is just, he says to the point that it's just nauseating.
Let me tell you something.
And he's by the way, he's a lovely guy.
Yes, he is.
Terrific television sportscaster. But he's got, there's a chip loose, and he has a frightening inability to express himself clearly and concisely. And this annoying habit of repeating phrases to the point that it's, makes you nauseous.
An ice pick into your eardrum.
Do you want to know what? And whoa, 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 and hold on a second. And they're screaming, and it's incomprehensible.
Sound like a bunch of sanitation workers arguing with each other. Over there, Paige. Over
get a hold of Mike Lupica, and find out, see if he wants to go on the air after 7 o'clock and try to see if he knows what the Rick Down situation is and if he's willing to go public with it. That's one. And two, what the real deal is here.
Yeah.
Although we think Lupica is in Showalter's camp, he's a fired Yankee manager. Mm-hmm. And who I also think is probably a weasel. Buck Showalter. He just looks like a weasel to me. And just his body language just suggests that he's a paranoid little geek.
A weaselly slink to it? Okay.
Yeah, but Steinbrenner is a fat, gutless coward and a convicted felon and a Nazi. So he doesn't get any worse than Steinbrenner. I mean, he's just pathological, his situation. And it's only fun because it gives us an opportunity to revel in the agony of these folks.
There you go.
See if we can't somehow ruin Rick Down's life. I guess that's really what it's about.
Imus in the morning.
What happened is that Mike Francesa and Russ Salzberg got into a screaming match yesterday. They both work at this radio station in New York, and it's the best of sports radio when we can get the hosts fighting with one another and hopefully reduce it to some kind of violence.
Hey, Mike!
Cut the nonsense.
He brought a Rick Down to you, and you don't think...
At 2 minutes... Well, no, it went on for an hour like that.
Like a Teamsters meeting or something.
If your radio sounds funny in the morning, you're listening to Imus in the morning. Anyway, here to explain his side of it is Mike Francesa. Good morning, Mike.
The only one lower on the food chain than Steinbrenner is you.
What have I done now?
You know, the way you play those things, Nixon was fairer with the tapes than you.
Imus in the morning on the Voice Radio 66 WFAN.
WFAN 2020 Sports.
Good evening at 5 o'clock. This is John Minko.